No more international matches till March, boys. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to another episode of FPL Escapades. I'm Kshitij and I'm joined by Akshay and Anand after what has been 10, 11 horrendous days as an FPL manager where we see players being flagged left, right, and center. After what has also been a very eventful and an uneventful international break. Guys, welcome once again after one blank game week. We're back talking about things we should not have been talking about, the international break and the side effects that it has had on multiple players. Akshay, how do you feel about the international break and how did it affect your FPL team?
I mean, we've been discussing this in detail offline on WhatsApp and on Twitter as well. I don't understand the reason why they place this international break right at this moment, especially when we already see cases during the first international break. So every different country has different protocols for when it comes to COVID. While we are recording this, we just got an update that Mohamed Salah has returned another positive test, and so Liverpool are struggling right now when it comes to injuries. We have already seen Trent ruled out before the international break, and Robertson also suffered a niggle when it comes to international matches. So it's not just Liverpool, to be really honest. It's basically all the clubs are being affected, and I think the players need to come out and put this issue to bed because this is going to hamper all of the players and the clubs. And although we do not have an international break for a while now, but something needs to be done. It's not just about milking money here. So, yeah.
I mean, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, like, during a pandemic, I still do not understand why there are international friendlies being held. If there has to be some qualification that for some international tournament, that still makes sense, but just international friendlies at this point of time, again, it's as you rightly pointed out, it's just a thing for milking money, I assume. Anand, how do you feel about the international break and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Horrific to see that friendlies are happening during the international break. Also because fixtures are so congested, and even then, the UEFA or whosoever continents federations, you know, they're not stopping these countries to play friendlies. So I absolutely agree with you and Akshay. I think there has to be some change. Also, good news is that the next international break is in March. So there is a good period of time now that the players can focus on, the club. Also because we play FPL, and also also because of that, we feel more bad about the situation as we can see a lot of players are flagged. But yeah, eventually for the players' welfare, just agree with you both.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is not just about us playing FPL from an FPL manager perspective. I mean, I think we can all agree that FPL managers are really finicky about as soon as they see someone being flagged in their team, be it of injury. But like uh, a situation like this where we're through a pandemic and international friendlies are being happening, I think a lot of ex players have also come out and spoken about how badly they feel about this same thing. And I think it is high time for the football associations of respective countries to um, get their heads together and make sensible decisions. And again, like thankfully, the international break will be in March or something like that, but the damage has already been done. I mean, there are a lot of players who've already contracted COVID, and Mohamed Salah and El Neni, like Akshay pointed out, there have been so many injuries. And again, games will come really thick and fast going into December and January again. So I personally feel that the football associations of countries as well as the clubs do not really care, or it seems that they don't really care about the players' health. Akshay, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, absolutely. Like we were already expecting a jam-packed season after all the late changes to the schedule for the Premier League, and despite all that, they go ahead and plan international matches between the game weeks. And the classic case is Alex Telles, like that player. He got COVID positive. He came into isolation in Manchester. He missed United games, and just when he completed his isolation, we have another international break, and he goes back to Brazil again, and then there are rumors that he's maybe COVID positive again. So what's going on? This is more like a circus. I really don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, absolutely, man, definitely. And Anand, how many flagged players do you have in your FPL team right now? And have you already made your transfers, or have you been a sensible managers and held your transfers till now?
I have one flagged player, that is Raheem Sterling, and I had two free transfers. So I moved out Mitchell. Mitchell, I bought him for 4.0, and I sold him for 4.1. So I was a little greedy over there, and I got in Lamptey for 4.7. So I did one transfer and one's left. So I'm still uh, figuring out who should I get in, because there are a couple of players. We will get to them in a while. Yeah, but Raheem Sterling is the guy who is injured in my
Yes.
team.
I mean, like dodging bullets left, right, and center. Anand, good for you, man, that you have only one. Akshay, what about you, man? How many do you have?
I coincidentally have three flag players, and all of them are Liverpool players. So Trent, Robertson, and Salah.
I myself have three flagged players in Salah, Robertson, and Mitchell, and it is all on me. I rage transferred right when the game week was going, just because I thought the players' values will increase or decrease, and shot myself in the foot with a -8. But that is how life is. I have to live with it right now. Cannot rage anymore. Thankfully, it was a break in between so that I could get my head straight. But yeah, with that, I think it is time that we jump into our weekly dosage of the essentials for upcoming game week. That is game week 9. Interestingly enough, when we look at the essentials for game week 9, you have Jamie Vardy, like we spoke about him in the last episode, is the Vardy party back on, and Vardy is playing Liverpool, and his record, I mean, does make him like a juicy asset for me. 8 goals. Just a little concerned that his NPXG plus XA is 0.59. He's taken a lot of penalties as well. I think 4 or 5 till now, but yeah, but that has been the season, kind of like, there's a lot of penalties, and we've already spoken about the penalty FC. Did not really fire in the first or second game week, but maybe in 6, 7 game week there were a lot of penalties, and people scored penalties. But we also saw in last game week that penalties can be missed as well, with KDB shooting wide, and which I don't think anybody did actually imagine that something like that will happen. And talking about KDB, I still feel that he is the premium Manchester City asset that managers should target after this game week. And they play Burnley, Fulham at home, then United, and then West Brom at home again. So really good fixtures, and KDB, irrespective of the fixtures that he plays in, can definitely return you points. I think he's missed one penalty, and that nobody saw coming. I also think that it was somewhere related to the conditions of the ground as well, where he could not fire it in. But definitely expect points being returned by KDB. And yes, Chilwell again. I think he was flagged, and there was a scare of an injury against him. But definitely Chelsea, after Mendy, we've said this 100 times. Like, they really do look. Their defense really does look really well in terms of clean sheets as well. And Chilwell has been really a great asset in going forward and returning attacking returns with 2 goals and 2 assists, and 2.2 key passes per match is a statistic that really impresses me for a defender. Anand, who are your essential picks going into game week 9?
Well, uh, this week we see a change of template in the first 8 game weeks. In essentials for midfielders, there was say Son in it and Mohamed Salah. But now suddenly, there are new names added to it. We can see Bruno coming into the picture, and Bruno, for me, you know, I have to go and take his name, because Bruno has given me a lot of points this season. Regarding strikers, I think I agree with you. Vardy looks great for this game week. When I saw the fixtures of Vardy, I was like, he's playing earlier. We felt like maybe Liverpool could be a difficult fixture, but now with all the defenders out, it just feels correct to say that it's a good fixture for Vardy. At the same time, I fancy Jimenez in this match. A lot of people have moved on and moved away from Jimenez. But he's playing Southampton, and Wolves likes to play these kind of teams. I also said the same thing when Wolves played Leicester in the last week, but it was the Vardy party. Leicester won the match, although Vardy missed the penalty. But still, but here again, I do fancy Jimenez apart from the strikers who are mentioned over here. And regarding defenders, I personally feel that again, like great choices over here, and Dean is somebody who I think has a really good fixture against Fulham. And the best part is Richarlison and James Rodriguez are returning, so that could be uh, like a good thing for Everton and also for Dean going forward because he'll have more forward players who are back into the squad and dangerous players. Also, Richarlison scored a goal for Brazil yesterday against Uruguay. So he was in form before the red card, and even in the international break, his form continues. So Dini will benefit from it. And regarding keeper, uh, Martinez has been a really good keeper since a long, long time, and I think enough said about him.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the kind of fixtures that Aston Villa have from game week 9 through game week 15 are so juicy that a triple up on Aston Villa will not sound crazy at all, given their fixtures and their forms that they have been in. Akshay, how do you feel about the essentials in game week 9?
Yeah, I think Everton and Aston Villa are the teams to target if you're planning a wild card or a free hit this game week because they have a decent run of fixtures going forward. And the Anand spoke about the return of Dini and Richarlison, so that's going to benefit DCL as well because he was lacking service in the last two games, which Everton lost. And I think we've missed James Rodriguez in one of the essentials, so he could be a massive pick coming back because players, FPL managers were not very keen on holding on to him. We have you as well. So, and talking about the Chelsea combo, that is Hakim Ziyech and Ben Chilwell. So we saw that combination in the last game as well, where Ziyech pinged a ball in the far post and Chilwell was lucky to get his knee on. So I think we'll see a lot of that. It might not turn into goals, but it could be pre-assist and assist there. So you have to keep an eye on that. And talking about Bruno Fernandes, I already spoke about replacing Salah, and I think that's a nail-on transfer for me because Salah is certainly ruled out, and the only concern with transferring out Salah for me was whether he'll be out for a week or two. And judging by the latest report, I think it was a COVID test that was done just yesterday. So it's not just going to be 1 week. I think it's going to be 2 weeks, and that's where I think I'm going to ditch him. Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting. And just by the way, I did not ditch James Rodriguez yet. I got Bruno and Salah in for Son and Sterling. So I did ditch Sterling though. I mean, but I have had enough of him. But yeah, that is a lot of after a lot of debating and now crying at the decision that I took of Rage transferring it. I think it might not pay off. But yeah, boys, with that, I think great discussion and really, Anand, like you said, a really different template of essential picks for game week 9 and kind of hopefully helps the FPL managers who are planning to take minus. I think minus hits will be quite common this
Yeah.
game week or free hit as well. Shout out to Mr. Bhuna after minus 12 and minus 16. He went to a free hit. So yeah, that is it for the essentials in game week 9. And now we move on to our next section of differentials. So yeah, talking about differentials, I mean, this category is something that has really eluded me. So since it has always eluded me, Anand, I'd like to really get started off with you. What are your thoughts in looking at the differential assets for game week 9?
Uh, Really interesting players, with really low ownership. So a lot of managers who do not have a good rank, if you can land up one of the differential players and they can do good for you, your rank will really climb. And you know, it is difficult to say, and also at the same time, it is difficult to consider, and at the same time, it's very difficult to overlook this player. And Barkley is somebody who is playing really well. He's playing like a number 10, and because of that, he's taking a lot of shots. He's managing three key passes per match, so that is something which is like a standout feature. But then a lot of guys have already tripled up on Villa because of say Grealish or Watkins or Martinez because they are really good picks as well. Or even if you want to bring Target, Mings and Konsa into consideration, but Barkley is somebody if you are short of funds and and things. I think Barkley is the guy you should definitely um, bring in bring in into your team. Uh, Apart from that, Cancelo again, talking about key passes, Cancelo is producing 2.8 key passes per match. So really creative going forward and kind of nailed. Good news for everybody is that for Portugal, in their last international friendly, he came on from the bench. So that's like a good news for all the guys who have Cancelo or who wants to bring him in. Um, Talking about Darlow, what a season he's having so far. 39 saves already, and it was it is just getting very very close to 5 saves a match. Plus, he has already saved a penalty and clean sheet. So for Darlow, the worry is Newcastle facing Chelsea. That's like a worry. But after that, they have a really good run of fixtures where they'll be playing Fulham, West Brom, and they'll be playing a lot of decent teams. So on paper, it looks easy for them. But yeah, Dalo is somebody you want to consider. Suppose if you want to ship out Martinez, it's a very difficult it's a very difficult situation. But if you really don't have Martinez, then probably you can get in the likes of Darlow or the essentials like Mendy in your team and probably then get in Barkley. Jesus is a very interesting pick. When we talk about strikers, he's just played 2 matches and scored 2 goals. So that is why he's so interesting. And but we don't know about Aguero. Will he be back? When will he be back? Um, it it feels like he is 2 weeks away, and because of that, Jesus at that time looks like a good pick and just owned by 1% of the managers right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But when I look at City assets, like you spoke about Cancelo, he does have a lot of key passes and statistics speak for him. But he also, for me, passes the eye test as well. While playing against Liverpool, I think City only Cancelo actually turned up for me, or at least that is what I felt from an eye test perspective. So I'm with you with that, and I'm also really surprised that only 4.2% of the uh, population have Barkley in their team, and I'm surprised in another way that we do not have enough Aston Villa assets, given how their fixtures and form is. So I personally did get in Grealish. I stood away from him for a long time, but definitely, since I had the funds, I got in Grealish. Otherwise, Barkley was definitely on the radar, and he still is, because a triple up on Villa does seem like a really great thing to do till game week 15, when their fixtures turn for the worse. Uh, Barnes, I think, is again somebody who I have on my watch list. I literally have him on my watch list on the FPL website, and I did get him in. But my story with him hasn't really been that great, because I shipped Son out for Barnes when Mourinho did that thing against Ole, and Son ended up scoring 22 or 24 odd points that game week, and I immediately shipped him out again. Barnes thankfully hasn't been performing that well since I've shipped him out, so that plays in my favor. But definitely the most two juicy players assets that I see here is the return of Richarlison and Martial, both of them coming after suspensions. Martial again, I think, looks really hungry. Always, kind of people call him lazy and all that, but definitely when he puts on a show, he definitely does look really great. Akshay, what are your thoughts on the differentials?
Yeah, I think the low ownership of Barkley is probably down to Grealish performing so well. And if you have a choice between Barkley and Grealish, you'd go for Grealish any day. Grealish is more of a direct player, and with the touches and the involvement inside the box right now, I think he's the one to own if you're looking for a Aston Villa midfielder. And coming to defenders, I think Harry Maguire could be an interesting differential this week, because we have news that Alex Telles could be involved against West Brom, because he was an unused sub in the Brazil game versus Uruguay. So I have a feeling that Alex Telles might start at left back, considering Luke Shaw is out. So that gives us incredible potential on set pieces. So Harry Maguire has been guilty of missing a lot of chances, but I think Alex Telles could bring that out of him, and we could see a Maguire goal against West Brom because they are really sloppy at the back. And talking about Kai Havertz, I think we made this list just before Kai Havertz was probably ruled out of the Newcastle game alongside Christian Pulisic. So that might be a diversion for our viewers, but I think he's ruled out. So Hakim Ziyech is probably the Chelsea midfielder to have in your team because he's a quality midfielder and probably made for FPL. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about player assets and players being ruled out, I think the best suggestion that we could give to all of our listeners is that wait till the manager's press
Yeah.
conference. I mean, after a time like this, definitely you should hold on to your transfers as late as possible. Take up all the information. Do not absolutely rely on Twitter as long as it is 100% correct or really reliable source. So that is what you really need to look at. I mean, that time has actually obviously passed for me after raging, but definitely our suggestion to all of our listeners will be to wait till all of the managers press conference. Yeah, and with that I think a lot of great discussions for differentials, and on to our last section, the cheapies. So when I look at the cheapies again, there are some really interesting names. I'd like to start off with Podence. I mean, we had a really good journey. He After game week 3, he gave me returns finally in one game week, and sadly I had to part ways with him to create some space and essentially to part my way with triple up on Wolves, which I had unintentionally done in Jimenez, Saiz, and Podence. But definitely still a good shout out. I do feel that he still has a couple of good game weeks in him with Southampton and Arsenal, though, and Liverpool. So after Southampton, his fixtures do get tricky. But again, we know Wolves and Nuno, they can turn up whenever they want, they can, and whenever they want to. But with that, I think from a forward perspective, I think Shea Adams is again intriguing me a lot. Again, I think the FPL curse is still on. And when I got rid of him, I think in game week 5 or 6 is when he started returning as well. And with Southampton playing Wolves and United the game week after game week 9, they have a decent run of fixtures with Brighton and Sheffield United, who do not look in top form. And with the absence of Danny Ings, I thought they might drop down, but I think Shea Adams has found his form and can uh, returns can be expected from him. And looking at again the defense, Kufal is somebody who I have wanted to get in my team, but I really could not muster up the courage to get him in, given that West Ham do have other uh, good defenders in Cresswell as well, who's not really expensive as compared to other premium defenders. So those are my three selections for the cheapies. And Anand, what do you think about the cheapies?
The ultimate GP this season can be probably Kilman. Started from 4.0 and suddenly he's 4.3 now. Regarding forwards, I think Rodrigo is somebody that I really like. Um, so even back in La Liga, he had really good goal creation action, and in the limited matches so far, whatever he's played, his goal creation action even for Leeds is 0.84, which is quite high. And Rodrigo likes to get involved. A lot of guys, who are hardcore Leeds fans, and they do think that because Rodrigo was not part of the squad, Leeds did drop their form. At the same time, Leeds even missed Calvin Phillips. Uh, Regarding midfielders, actually, I'm just turning a huge fan this season. Looking at how Villa are playing this season, and I'll again go with McGinn. Like 7 matches is like a decent sample, and in the 7 matches he's producing 2 key passes again. That is incredible. And look at his stats; like he's already given 4 assists and also scored a goal. And in the last match against Arsenal, he was unlucky not to score that first goal. If you guys remember, like
Yep.
he scored a cracker and then it was overruled. There's another Villa midfielder who was unlucky in the last match. So it came really close scoring. Trezeguet, another Egyptian guy, playing up top with the likes of Barkley. Grealish. Aston Villa looks like a really good team. It's like a lottery going on over there. Everybody's picking up points. So could be again at 5.5 can be a decent pick. Again, these picks are if you want a fifth, if you want to go safe and want to keep a good luxury player on your bench, then these are the players you should get in your team.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I just saw Westergaard, and really nobody has spoken about him. Akshay, what are your thoughts on Southampton assets or cheapies in general?
I mean, Anand has been a huge fan of Westergaard since I don't know forever, because he felt that he offers absolutely nothing when it comes to FPL, and I wouldn't I wouldn't slate him for that, because he actually offers nothing. But this season, the season that it has been, the year that it has been, even the likes of Westergaard are performing, and if I'm not wrong, he hasn't blanked since game week 3. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's crazy. And
yeah,
talking about Southampton, I think Shea Adams is perhaps one of the bandwagon players. When you go back to game week 1 and you look at the bandwagon players, I think he's one of the cheap bandwagons who actually turned out pretty decent, considering he was priced only at 6 million. And I totally agree about the Rodrigo a bit. When it comes to Leeds, I think Leeds are a better side when they play two up top with Rodrigo and Bamford. So Bamford, although he has all the underlying stats behind him to back his numbers, I think Leeds are a better side when Rodrigo plays, and that's where they've missed both him and Calvin Phillips, as Anand mentioned. So talking about Podence, yeah, I still have him, and the only reason I still have him is because I'm a firm believer of the eye test, and I think he's still performing. There's no reason for me to drop him if I look at it that way. The only reason for him to be like chipped out of my team will be his minutes that are a concern right now, because he's probably going to be subbed off in every game around the 60-65 mark. He was the latest entry to FPL General's 59th minute podcast, wherein he was subbed off at the 59th minute, and he lost that point as well. So he's a frustrating one, but I think Wolves are going to turn their fixtures with all the players returning, and no more international breaks to worry them, because they've suffered hugely with all their players going for Portugal.
yeah.
So there's a lot of improvement in that, and I think Adama Traore is soon going to come into fold, and you might see Wolves clicking sooner rather than later. Yeah.
Yeah, the only concern that I have about Wolves is that when I look at their fixtures until game week 15, I think they have alternating games. They play Arsenal, then they play Liverpool, then they play Aston Villa, then they play Chelsea, and then Burnley, and then Tottenham. So that is something that made me at least get rid of the Wolves players, Podence in specific. But definitely, you make really good points with no Europa, and being firm believers of the eye test, definitely. But Akshay, to be fair, I think you fell in love with Portents right after that nutmeg on KDB. So definitely, I think you still haven't gotten over that fact. But yeah, I think to each other's own. And like when it comes to cheapies, these are really the premium cheap options that you can have in your team as the fifth midfielder or the fourth and fifth defender or the third striker as that. But depending on how you want to play your formation for a certain game week. And with that, I think we've had a great chat about all of the assets. And talking about assets, we have a really great news that we want to share with all of our listeners and supporters, wherein the FPL Escapades family has joined hands with the FPL legends of in FPL Lens and Nuts About FPL, wherein we would like to talk about how our partnership is moving forward with the return of FPL Five-A-Side, the brainchild of FPL Lens, and also known as Gabriel, who we spoke to in the last game week. He's been kind enough to us to extend this opportunity to carry on his legacy. Anand, of course, we've spoken so much about it offline and away from the camera, but definitely a great feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like a great contest. Request everybody to come and submit their FPL Five-A-Side. And apart from that, I think you've already spoken a lot about Gabriel and also about Toby. who's such a great help and has like so much knowledge about football. Is an Arsenal fan as well, and Gabriel as well. It's a valuable person, and to just work with him on this contest, FPL Five-A-Side is just a great feeling because he's like a football pure blood guy, having 25 years of coaching experience. And even for us, like we feel like it's a milestone moment for us, and we are giving out more content uh, to the FPL community and engagement. And a lot of people ask us that what is escapades and everything, and whatever we always talk, I just go and tell them the same thing. The guys, FPL escapades to us is uh, is just a conversation between friends and brothers from the college. And we felt that we talk so much about football and watch football, play football. Then why not just let's come down and record or document whatever we do? And it's just a great feeling, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is what I've started to love about the FPL, that you meet so many great human beings from every walk of life, from different countries and different continents. Us, Gabriel, and Toby. Now, Akshay, why don't you take a minute and explain what FPL Five-A-Side is all about, and how we are going to play this on Twitter?
Yeah, so the way that we are starting this is we're just taking over the mantle from Gabriel, who's been really kind, and it's really an honor for us to take this forward because the support that he had during the initial days of FPL Five-A-Side was really amazing, and he spoke about it in the previous episode as well. When you go through the comments in the FPL Five-A-Side tweet, so you have a look at the players and you start thinking straight away that these are the guys people think might perform this week, so maybe these are the ones who I might transfer in, and that's where you start thinking using FPL Five-A-Side for your FPL team. And I'll just give a brief walkthrough. So it's a Five-A-Side, so you have to pick 5 players and one goalkeeper, 2 defenders, one midfielder, and a forward. You do not have any restrictions when it comes to teams, so you can pick 5 from one team, but the budget is 30 million. And if there's a tie when it comes to the total number of points, the eventual winner will be the one who has spent lesser on the total team value. So that's where it is. And we've started this on Twitter and Instagram as of now, and we would be really happy if FPL managers get involved and shout us out yeah, on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely, and we really look forward to interacting with more FPL managers, given the FPL Five-A-Side and on FPL Escapades. Our social media link, as always, will be in the description. If you've enjoyed our content, please do give us a like and a follow. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And with that, boys, I think it's been great to be back after 10, 11 odd days, and after what has been a roller coaster of a week in general, not a footballing week, but a week in general. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, and to all of our listeners and followers. Again, thank you so much for keeping up with us and supporting us. All of our social media links are down in the description. Do tag us in all of your FPL teams going into game week 9, because it is that kind of a week wherein we would love to see how your teams are faring. And as always, it's been a pleasure. I hope we've been able to bring value to you with this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you and have a good one. And as always, may the arrows be green.